sorry for where I've come from. Just where that's all behind me. Grown too strong, I don't go down easy. Living for grace the best I can. I'm a Jesus girl. All the way. You changed my heart. Ooh, fall forward, up and over. If I go, it's only higher. No matter where I stand, it's always on the Lord's side, 'cause I've been reading.
What's up? What's up? It's Wednesday, so y'all know what time it is. It's time for the what? It's time for the Wednesday's Word 4Women show, the REmiX. I sure hope your day is flipping along fantabulously. Your week, matter of fact, is rocking this entire planet. I hope you out here living your best life, showing up as your best self wherever it is you gotta rock, and we can do that. We know, regardless of who we gotta be around or where we gotta go, because we don't have to let nobody kill our vibe nor steal our joy, and our attitude, reactions, and responses is our responsibility. It's on us. We get to choose. The right to choose is phenomenal. And so if we are struggling in that area, we know that we can scroll through the Rolodex of our mind, grab a hold of something to be grateful and thankful for, and shift our mood, because hey, we're not gonna have a bad day out here. We gonna make it do what it do, because that's what we do, you know. So today, okay, you know, some days, you know, like this is gonna be tough. Like this is like you're not gonna want to be heard. And I get it. I know I didn't want to hear it either. But I'm saying it anyway, because it needs to be said. But I want to talk about the victim and the villain. The victim and the villain. We are now more than ever cognizant of the fact of the toxic people in our lives, in our circles. We are very clear now that we as a people need to set boundaries more than ever before. We are clear that the cancel culture is real, that we are clearing out. If you bring us any kind of distress or hardship, any kind of toxicity, you know, you got to go, give me 50 feet, you know, God ain't through with you, but I am, you know, that's our mentality. And on one hand, yes, you have to guard your space. I am one believing you don't cancel anybody, but you set the appropriate boundaries and perimeters. If we go around cutting off everybody that's hurts us or is toxic, then we would even have to cut out ourselves, because newsflash, none of us got this all together, and all of us have toxic traits. All of us have things that are wrong, that we do wrong. We have wrong mentalities. We have wrong attitudes about stuff. And so, you know, I don't think the goal is just to cancel everybody. And I don't think the goal is even to cut everybody out of our life. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, you need to set boundaries and perimeters. But, you know, my thing is, if you are the light in a person's world, which we are called to be, where the light going to come from if we disengage and we distance ourselves from everything that's hard? You know, relationships are hard, whether it be marriage, whether it be familial, with, you know, kids, mother to father, with the children, friends. I mean, all of it is hard, and we are flawed. We are inherently flawed, and we're going to suck and mess up. And so, you know, we know that about us. And so I just want to take a minute and talk about the villain, talk about the toxic people. Now I am not saying stay where it is dangerous or it is unsafe I'm by no means, I'm not saying that. And you know what is healthy for you. Hopefully, you know what boundaries you need to set. Hopefully, but I'm just talking about I think we need to take a look at that, because what I want is for us to heal, and I want for us to start accepting folks and loving folks just where they are, not when they get it together, then I can love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, how is that? Because I'm not even together, like you're not together. And so, I mean, this expectation we're putting on other people, they're not going to be able to meet it, because there's no such thing. And so I think in all of our self-care and all of our awakening to the fact that we do need to protect our temples, we do need to protect our minds, we sometimes can go overboard with that. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about victim or villain, the villains. Let's talk about the toxic person. And remember my disclaimer, this is not talking about things and stuff that you have to get away from. I'm not talking about that. But I am talking about relationships. I am talking about people that is in your sphere of influence. I am talking about the area that you are in, the people you are called to, because there are some people that's your people, and even if they toxic, and even if they, if that you wouldn't rock like that, that's still your people, and there is a connection for a reason. And I just I want us to stop breaking connections with the connections that shouldn't be broke, and keeping the ones that we need to let go. So a toxic person, first thing I want to say, I'm speaking for the toxic person, me being one, because I got toxic traits. You do too in some area. It doesn't mean that they're evil. See, the same way I can look at myself and know that my flaws and the things I have that is not right. I know I'm not an evil person. Well, a toxic person it doesn't mean that they're evil, though there is some evil people. This is not talking about them. I'm talking about the average person. Though a person is toxic doesn't mean they're evil. It means that they're broken. It means that they're broken, and it could mean that they're not necessarily for you. Might not necessarily be good for you, but a toxic person, it doesn't mean that they are evil. We by nature as people have to have the villains in our story. I'm sure you, like I, can think about moments in our lives, turning points in our lives, things that changed us, our biggest pain, our biggest hurt, and we can readily point out the villain in your story. You know as sure who it was that hurt you. They are the villain. This happened because that person, that's the villain in the story. This is nothing new. We are human. We're people. We have to have a villain in our story. That's just the nature of humanity. If you think about it from the beginning, heck, Eve blamed the devil, and Adam blamed Eve and God, and that's just there's always a villain in every story, and there's a victim, and then there's a villain. So I just wanted to present to you that perhaps victim and villain need to actually be used simultaneously. I know, don't shut me down. Let me explain. Because the toxic person and act is coming from the brokenness in that person that is doing it. Yes, that is true. Yet, if you want to call them the victim, we then do have to, the villain, we then do have to look inside ourselves and ask the question, what was it in me that allowed that victimization. There is something in me being with that person or doing this thing that fed a need that was meeting my need. That came, it came from within me. And so, it's like we name the villain as the other person, but actually the villain is actually just the person playing a part in your story, because they can only play a role that you allow. I don't care what nobody say, they can only play a role that you allow. I'm not saying that you can't get, stuff slipped through. But generally, it's not just a slip through. Generally, we know exactly what's going on and we continue to stay there. And so to call them the villain and me the victim, I mean, it could be vice versa, because I'm using you too. So you could call me the villain and you could be the victim in this situation. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that, because villains generally never started out that way. Think about it, in any fairy tale, in any story, there was some great pain, some great rejection, some great miscarriage of justice that turned that person into the villain. Look at every fairy tale. Rumpelstiltskin, became that way because of what happened, with his shorty. Maleficent, turned that way because of a betrayal of a love. All of them, there was some tragedy, there was some pain, there was some hurt, there was some rejection that turned them that way. That's why I'm saying the villain isn't evil. It is just a broken person. Something broke them, and then they start living from that, and they start wanting to hurt. They say hurting people hurt people. So that's what that is. And so they were a victim and a villain simultaneously. And then think about from ourselves. I think about myself. I was a victim, but I in turn became a villain. And I think about my girlfriends who loved me when I was at my worst. I have one girlfriend, sometimes she'll sit and look at me and be like, you was always doing something. You was always in something. I mean, I was out here living reckless. I would, pull up and go to people's houses, men's houses, living with their women to go pick them up. I would, I can't tell you how many shootings I was in, there just so much stuff that I did. I can't tell you how much pain I caused, my children or people who love me. Like, I was the villain in their story, but I'm not evil. It was just, I was living from a broken place. And see, the beauty in being the villain is, if people don't throw you away, generally a person will grow and will evolve and will come up out of that, because we'll start dealing with our pain. We'll start seeing what part we play. Yes, I was victimized, so victimized, but that did not give me the right to become a villain, though I wasn't trying to become a villain. And so I can't use that as an excuse. All I can say was I was victim and villain. And so if we would start giving people the benefit of the doubt, perhaps think of that relationship or that connection that you broke. Perhaps can you revisit it? Because what I want is, I want us to heal. I want us to start coming together. We're so separate. We're so closed off. We're so afraid because of the villains we've had in our life. But perhaps if we start looking at it through the right lens, we can start healing and trusting ourselves to love again, to engage again, to step out again. The fear of the villain is what keeps a whole, in every fairy tale, it kept whole towns and regions paralyzed from fear. And that's the same thing it does with us, with people. If we are so consumed and so used to looking at people as the villain, we are going to be scared, and we're going to build these walls and these fortresses around ourselves, and everybody's a lone man on the island, lonely and scared and missing out on the greatest thing in life, which is people. Can't relate, don't want to be what people, y'all, that ain't how we're supposed to be. And so I just want us to clearly, now I'm not saying excuse any hurt, I'm not diminishing any hurt, I'm not saying any of that, but we have to understand that the villain in our story is one step shy away from being a victim. And though we didn't see that, they got there for a reason. And I'm not excusing them, please, I'm not. But I'm trying to tell you, they're not evil. They're just broken people that need to heal. And I don't know what that's going to take. And I don't know, should you even be around them until they get their healing. But let's stop casting folks away, deeming them evil and not worthy of the grace and mercy that we ourselves needed and need. I'm telling you guys, we can't continue on the road we are. Our culture is suffering, and it's getting weaker and weaker the more we disengage, the more we detach. Y'all, let's stop detaching. Villain and victim simultaneously. And so if I can see that in myself, could I see the villain in my story as well and start living life from that? Can I grace and mercy some folks who messed up? Folks just mess up. I have screwed up so much and still am going to continue. Can we start looking at folks like that? Can we start gracing the villains in our stories and perhaps investigate the thought that perhaps they're a victim and they're acting from that? And if that is the case, could I be helpful, an aid in their healing? Can I be a light in their life somehow? You guys, it's time for Ask Pastor Payne. You can shoot me an email, a text, which this week it is a text, a DM me, PM me, whatever it is, get a hold of me and you'll be a guest on the show. You guys be blessed. I'm praying for you as always. Your biggest fan. Peace out. Why is it so hard to follow God out here? That is a phenomenal question, Andrea, or AKA Booter Johnson. That's a great question. She asked, why is it so hard to follow God out here? She says, since I'm a pastor, that's the question she gonna ask. Child, I mean, everybody would like to answer that question, even me myself. It is hard for me sometimes. But my short answer is, it is because his ways really are not our ways. And sometimes we know that what we want to do is contrary to what he wants. Like what we want for ourselves is contrary to what he wants for us. And so then there's this friction, and so you want to be the God of our life. I mean, you answered it in your question. Why is it so hard for us to follow God out here? Well, because we don't want to follow, we want to lead. We kind of want God to be this sort of I'm gonna call you when I need you. I'll do this when it's convenient for me. I'm cool with you. I'll rock with you until rocking with you goes contrary to what I want to do, and then it gets hard. Or that's one reason. Or another reason is because he said it would be. It is in this society and culture that we live in, it is following God is actually contrary, it's counterculture to the culture, and people want to fit into the culture, and so it is a different culture. It's different principles that we live by. Like, we're not perfect, but it's a different lifestyle, and it is actually counterculture. And so there is this friction, like, man, I just want to fit in. I just want to rock how they rock. I just want to do what everybody else is doing. You know what I'm saying? And so that is another reason that that is hard out here to follow God. Another reason is because we, by nature, as people, are selfish. Is all about us. And so, to give that up, to give up the identity you have for yourself, and take on his, I think that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part, is identifying with who he says we are. Another reason is we just don't know him. We don't know him. We think he's some cosmic out there, not really valid to everyday life. Not understanding that, he is the best friend we could have. He loves us more than there ever will be love on this earth. But you won't know that until you get to know him. And it's kind of hard, to get to know him if you're not being intentional. I think that's another reason that it's so hard out here to follow God. And then it's the unknown. We don't know. We don't know. We are such a people, a show me people. You can't see him per se. And you have to really be intentional about finding him. He's always there, but you have to be intentional about seeing him in your life. You have to be looking for him. You know what I'm saying? He's always there, but you have to do your part in looking, and seeing him, and really, honestly, even being truthful with him. I think a lot of us don't like to follow him because we're not actually being really real with him. We're not saying it's hard for me to believe in you. I can't see you. I don't understand. This makes no sense. Well, if you are so good, then why did this happen? You know what I'm saying? We don't take him as God. We don't think that he can handle our doubts and our frustrations and our fears. Or we just don't believe, for whatever reason. And so those are some of the reasons I think it is hard for us out here to follow God. But the good thing about the whole situation is that he never is not following you, and he pursues you, and he knows exactly what it is that is going to get you to him. And so I have hope. I have the utmost faith that if you want, he will meet you exactly where you are in a way that you can understand. And regardless of what society, what church folks, or whatever has painted him to be, God is God, and he is your God, and he will meet you right where you at. All you have to do is allow him to. He will never force anyone. That's the love. That's the level of love he has for us. But he always is there, always is ready to welcome, and is always ready to shoulder and bear your heart questions, your fears, and whatever else it is that is stopping you from following him. And he is actually the one that enables us. We can't follow him naturally on our own, because that's not who the people we are. But he helps us to follow him. And so that's the first thing. Remember, you're not following him on your own. He gives you the power to follow him, because we don't have it naturally in ourselves. And so I hope that gave you a couple of things to mull on and chew on, and think about why is it so hard out here to follow God? The saving grace is we don't have to do it alone and in our own strength. He'll help you. So you guys be blessed.